Hi, my name is Beth, and you're listening to the Canna Fitness and Nutrition Podcast, where we are hanging out at the intersection of fitness, nutrition, and cannabis. Thank you so much for pressing play today. I'm excited that you're here. If you're new here, well, welcome. I'm Beth, personal trainer and cannabis educator. If you're not new, thanks for coming back. I hope that these are educational and inspiring, and that you're learning something actually that's helpful. That's the whole idea. And if you're signing in, you're pressing play, it means to me that you're interested in your fitness and or health in general, maybe in your nutrition. You might be on a weight loss journey or just a fitness journey, like all of us are, trying to maintain some shape, or as I like to tell people and clients, that we are just staying in shape so we can do the things we love, right? And one of the things we love is cannabis. And today we're going to talk about CBG. Again, because I love CBG, and I'm slowly learning more about it. As always with cannabis, there's not a ton of research out there, but what little there is, I'm trying to learn it so that I can bring it to you, dissect it, bring it down into how we can really use it, what it means for us. And today, we're going to talk about using it for motivation. The studies are showing that it can be used in a motivating sense, in that it is energizing, in that it can change the way we think in a good way, right? It's not about getting stoned with CBG, because CBG, it is non-intoxicating, so it doesn't make you high, but it has a lot of medicinal benefits. So we're going to put it today in the context of not feeling motivated to work out, right? Let's set the stage. And I apologize if I sound a little nasally today. The allergies have just all of a sudden, I swear, as soon as it turned August, it was like allergy explosion at my house. So if I sound a little nasally, that's why. So I apologize for that. But let's set the stage, right? You want to lose weight, or you've got a few extra pounds. For me, for the longest time, it wasn't a ton of weight, but it was just the up and down of like 20 pounds, that I would just struggle with. And it's not that that's a significant amount. It's the frustration of not being able to control 20 pounds, right? You feel like, when you're young, you're like, you put on 5 pounds on vacation and then you're home for 2 weeks and it's gone, because you can just take off 5 pounds like when you snap your fingers. But as we get older, and if you're listening to this, you're probably a woman in midlife or know someone or around that area in life. And so, it's harder, right? It gets harder as we go older. So at this point, let's set the stage. Common problem for a lot of my clients is that you get to that point where it used to be so easy to take off 5 pounds. In fact, it used to be easy to take off 10 pounds, right? You eat good for a month, you start running, you're 22, and suddenly you look like $1 million, right? But now we're 40. Okay, let's be honest. I'm almost 50, and the weight just doesn't come off as easily. Your jeans aren't zipping up. Truth be told, they haven't in a while. You don't like the way you look in the mirror. The worst is when you pull on leggings and they feel tight. Like, can we just laugh about that for a second? Because how horrible of a feeling is it when you go to put on your leggings, which are supposed to be stretchy and fit all of you in it, and your leggings feel tight, right? That's the most mortifying feeling, can I just say? So you get to that point, right? And the worst is when you're on social media and pictures come up. They like to send you the memories, or they'll show you like the same thing you posted this day last year, but they'll go back years and years and years. Like Facebook especially is notorious for this, is they'll show you the last 15 years of your life on one day. And all that does a lot of time is just help us compare ourselves to where we were 15 years ago. So it can be really frustrating to be faced with old pictures of yourself, especially if you feel like your weight has, declined, maybe your shape, your fitness level has declined. It can be really frustrating to have to look at pictures of yourself, right? You're like, what the heck happened? And then, of course, there's I need to get back on track. I'm going to do it. You tell your partner, you tell your friends, okay, on Monday, I'm back on track. Okay, this is the last time I eat this. After this is gone, then I'll get back on track, right? Or just let me get through this weekend and then I'll get back on track. Or let me just get past vacation and then I'll get back on track. If I had a nickel for every time I heard that, oh my gosh, I'd have a boat. So you keep saying you're going to get back on track, but something always comes up, right? Monday morning rolls around, you got a headache. Monday morning rolls around, your kid's sick. Monday morning rolls around, there's a meeting that you didn't know about, and they're serving pizza at lunch, and then you have pizza, and then you feel like you just totally didn't even get a chance to start, right? So there's always something, and you just feel like you're just always never getting back on track, right? And then you start blaming yourself, right? You're like, my life sucks. This is what I hear from people all the time, is my life sucks. I never get a chance to take care of what I want to take care of. I never get a chance to take care of myself. I'm spinning my wheels. I've had these same, X number of pounds on for the last 4 years because every time I try, I can't do it. Something is in my way, and I just don't have it in me to do it anymore. In fact, that last part, I just don't have it in me to try anymore, is what I hear a lot, right? I've been doing this for a long time at this point, almost 20 years, and you'd be surprised at how many people come in and out of my life multiple times. And sadly, a lot of those times, people that I run across or people that I've known from the gym, they'll admit they'll say, I just don't have it in me to go through it again, because it is so taxing and so hard to try to stay on track when you feel like the world is against you and you have no motivation. And you think, I have no motivation, I have no willpower. You see yourself on social media, you see the pictures like yourself, right? The reels of women that look like you that are saying, you can do it. Just drink these greens and you'll feel so motivated, or just take these peptides and you'll have so much motivation, or, just eat all green veggies or just eat all red fruits. I don't know. People make up stuff. But my point is, you get it. There's a lot of what do they call it? Motivation culture. Yeah, motivation culture, where the women, social media is like really the epicenter of this. They're like, just try harder, do more, do this. This one thing is going to make you have willpower and motivate you. There are, to be honest, to be fair, there are a lot of different things you can try, right? And I when people seem hopeless, it hurts my heart, because there is hope. And that's where we're going with this, by the way. We're going into the hope part. Because part of the problem, and, I have this conversation obviously a lot with clients, is that it's not that you're lazy. It's definitely not that you're lazy, right? It's definitely not that there's something wrong with you, right? It's most likely because you're exhausted. You're exhausted. You're exhausted, right? Does that hit home at all for you? You're doing everything for everybody else. You have your full-time gig, whatever that looks like for you. After full-time gig and before full-time gig, you have your take care of everybody else gig, which is probably part-time or full-time at that point, right? And then if you're a person like me, I fall into that high achiever category, you probably signed up for extra gigs where you're responsible for things. So this could look like any number of things. Maybe you're an entrepreneur like me and you get to make your own schedule. But then because you have that flexibility, you pick up a couple of volunteer jobs. And so suddenly you are booked in addition to taking care of your family, your house, your animals, or maybe you're a mom and you have a full-time job. And before work and after work, those kids are there and they need to be taken care of. So that is another full-time job. And you're taking care of them and you want the best for them and you're making them food and you're making sure that they don't spend too much time on screens, and you're making sure that all of your animals have all of their medicines and all of their shots and they're all up to date and everybody's taken care of, your partner has what they need, there's food in the fridge, and there just isn't time to work out beyond that, right? You get it. You get it. If you're nodding along, you get it, right? But you need to be taken care of too. So what about your needs, right? And you keep telling yourself, after the next project, after this dies down, I hear that a lot too. After this settles down, after things settle down, after things die down, yeah, then I'll do it. Right. But does it ever really calm down? Why is it so hard to stay on track, even though you want it? I know you want it. Deep down, you want it. But also, it feels hopeless, right? So here's what's going on. And here's some of the things you might feel, too. Because as this is happening, you're feeling uncomfortable in your clothes. You wake up tired, no matter how early you go to bed. You're probably feeling bloated, foggy, or inflamed, but not sure why. Workouts, even like a yoga, feels completely overwhelming. You might be forgetting to eat. You may have food for everybody else, but you may not have made yourself lunch or forced yourself to have breakfast. So you're either not eating, or you're grazing all day, or you're binging. And you might be snappy and irritable, right? And just not feel like yourself. So again, you are not broken. You are burned out. Constant decision-making, emotions, pressure, right? It just drains your capacity to show up for yourself. I literally had this conversation with a client yesterday. They said that they got to the weekend and their partner was making hot dogs and there was a leftover salad in the fridge. So the partner says, "Do you want these hot dogs or do you want the leftover salad?" And my client says, "Give me the hot dogs." And we had a talk about that afterwards because they recognized that they could have easily just gotten the salad out of the fridge. And, it's not always about the individual situation, right? It's not all, you got to put it in context because a hot dog is not the end of the world by any stretch. But the point being, at that point, he continually chose the opposite of like the healthy choice, right? So just to give you a little bit of context, is this started a kind of a slippery slope into a spiral of the whole weekend of making the opposite choice instead of the healthy choice. So I said, "Why?" And then they said, "Well, they just taste really good. They smelled really good. They tasted really good." And I said, "Okay, well, all food tastes good. Let me just break it to you. Oh, I love food too. We all love food. It's delicious and it smells delicious all the time. So how are we going to get around that, right? What's the real reason that you chose that over the salad that you know was in the fridge, right?" And they said, "I just wanted someone to put the food in front of me and not have to make a decision." And that right there hit the nail on the head, because that's exactly what happens is we get so tired of making decisions throughout the day that we don't want to make another healthy decision. I don't want to make any more decisions. And it's the equivalent of your 3-year-old stomping their feet and crying in the middle of Marshall's, right? Like they just throw themselves down on the floor. They don't care that we're in public, and they just cry and stamp their feet because they just can't do it anymore, right? And that's what's happening in your brain, is it's saying, I just don't want to make any more decisions. So it's almost like a rebellious thing. It's almost like your brain's a teenager now, and it's like, nope, not doing it because I want the easy thing. Like it's as simple as, give me the hot dogs because the partner's already up and gonna serve them right to you, versus having to get up and go in the kitchen and get the salad, put it together, and all of that. That seemed like too much work, right? And I feel like that's just so relatable, because so many times I've eaten the lesser healthy choice or started maybe even like a binge episode because I was just exhausted and it was just too much to try to do the healthy thing. It was just exhausting. So here's what's going on. Instagram, TikTok, whatever, social media, they're going to tell you one thing. I feel like it's a lot of, quick fix, take a cold plunge and that'll fix it. I'm making light of it. I don't mean to make too much light of it, but a little bit, right? Because what's really going on is you have to dig down into your ability to rest, right? You need relief. You need simplicity, right? You need nervous system regulation, is what it's technically called here. But at CannaFit, we love cannabis. And so we use cannabis to support nervous system regulation. And that's where we come back to our friend CBG. Now, CBG is a supplement. And let me just explain one critical factor in here is that sometimes this exhaustion is a symptom of a deficient endocannabinoid system, right? Your endocannabinoid system in your body helps to regulate all the other systems in your body, right? And sometimes that includes your nervous system. So a way you can regulate your nervous system is to use cannabis because it'll support your endocannabinoid system, which then regulates your nervous system. The endocannabinoid system also supports your whole circadian rhythm. It supports your reproductive system, your digestive system, your respiratory system. It just regulates all the systems. So a lot of the symptoms that we feel, the exhaustion, that's like really the biggest symptom, of course, is just the exhaustion, the irritability, but even the little ones, the bloating, the foggy, the inflammation, all of those things can also be helped by regulating your endocannabinoid system. And CBG is showing real promise in regulating the endocannabinoid system. It lifts brain fog, it stabilizes your mood, and my favorite, it sharpens your mental clarity. So it acts as a focus and clarity tool. A focus and clarity, I wanted to say button, like you press a button, sort of like you take CBG and it almost acts a little bit like caffeine in that it just parts the curtains, right? It opens the window in your head. It blows the smoke out of the way, clears the fog, and you suddenly feel sharp, right? You suddenly feel alert, alive, awake, enthusiastic, and there's no caffeine to it. So there's no jittery, there's no, sometimes caffeine has that kind of intense feeling, especially if you drink it fast. There's an intensity to it, and CBG is very gentle. There's not an intensity to it, but it is more than subtle. It is more than subtle. Lifting the brain fog, regulating the mood, and sharpening the mental clarity. I love it for that. I love it so much. I've been taking it every day for the last few months over my CBD. I do take the CBD sometimes, but I really like the CBG and how that feels. And every person I recommend it to loves it. I take it in tincture form, which just puts a couple drops under my tongue, which just makes it really easy to absorb or absorbs fast that way. And then you can swallow the rest. I hold it for about 30 seconds or so. That's an easy way to take it, and it stays in your system longer if you ingest it through sublingual tinctures. You could take an edible. That also stays in your system quite a while. It comes in gummies. It comes in all kinds of things. You can inhale it. Of course, that's shorter term. So I do inhale it sometimes, but then it doesn't last as long. So I like to consume it and actually ingest it so that it stays in my system longer and I can build up, the CBG in my system so that it's always there. Some things you can add on to it is you can add CBD. You can add CBD to get even more bonus, more clarity, more focus, more motivation, we want to call it, right? Just to take that edge off. It gives you that calm, so you don't feel as exhausted and burnt out, right? Now, here's the step, right? Here's the step, is you need a supplement to make you feel better physically. But then what we do in coaching is now we want you to feel better physically, but I'm not just going to leave you alone at that and be like, okay, bye, good luck with that. No. We're going to sit down and we're going to look at your life and we're going to figure out what needs to change. What needs to change? Do you need to pull back in an area? Do you need to ask for help in an area? Are there things that can be organized or managed time management-wise better? What else can we do? And as we go through coaching, we work on changing things that need to be changed so that you also have the space. We're going to give you the mental bandwidth to do it, and now we need to give you the physical space to be able to work out and make better food choices. Sometimes with clients, that's as simple as some time management and organization. That's happened to a lot of clients, actually, I should say. Getting that structure down in your day and putting pen to paper, basically. One of my clients, that was very successful. She simply started blocking out the time in her calendar for work. And then we did some troubleshooting because it wasn't a perfect system. So we came up with some alternatives and some things that would work even if that didn't work based on her job. But for the most part, she was able to time block her days eventually so that she was getting in consistent workouts. And it worked with her lifestyle, and she actually even ran a 5K. And then I sent her out of the nest, fly birdie fly, and she's doing it on her own successfully now. So she's doing great. But that's what coaching looks like. We take the cannabis tool, right? CBG, which is super fun, and we put it together with a lifestyle change to get you the results that you want, that you actually want. Because we know that when you make more consistent, healthy food choices and you work out more consistently, you're going to lose weight and you're going to be able to fit into your clothes again. And that's how all that happens. But it's just a process, and I do love CBG. Add it to your CBD, add it to your THC. I've been doing that a lot lately too. I do love that because you get a little bit of the buzz, but also that focus and clarity that comes with CBG and that kind of energizing fact. So it's not a sedating at all. It's not something you want to do before bedtime necessarily, but it's a real feel-good daytime. I want to be productive and I love cannabis blend. Okay, so I hope that was interesting. I know it's a little bit different take on cannabis for this one, but I hope that was clear. And if it wasn't, please let me know so that I can be more clear in future episodes. If you have anything you'd like to hear me talk about on the podcast, I'd love that. I love hearing from you, so please keep writing in when you can. I am Beth at canafitnessnutrition.com. That's my email, and I hang out mostly on Instagram, where I am Beth_canafitnessnutrition. So I hope to hear from you. Thank you for listening. Please share if this is helpful so other people can learn, and I will see you next time.